Hi everyone, Ted Simpson here, certified Bob Ross instructor, and I'm going to go ahead and do something crazy. Season 18, Episode 9, Seascape Fantasy. Now Bob only had, 27 minutes to go through this, so he couldn't really show you all the prep work. He talked about it, but I'm going to show you exactly what he did here. Taking a little bit of the sap green and Van Dyke brown, and I'm going to be mixing those together. You can see up here I got a 12 by 16 portrait orientation, black gesso down here, about what, just over 4 inches on that canvas, so about a quarter of the canvas held portrait style. Black gesso, let it dry completely. Up here I just kind of swiped with that black gesso. I'm just waiting for it to finish drying here. Just a little bit of undercolor. Now, if you watch Bob, he already had it covered with the liquid white, and it gives it kind of a gray cast. Right now it's black, and all I'm doing is mixing up a little bit of this color. Now, he didn't give you a specific proportion of brown and green, so I'm just going to go for it. Kind of a really army green here, very, very dark green. Just mixing up a little batch of that. Using my 1-inch brush, I'm going to pick up some of that color, work some in here, and we'll give our, right around there, some of that color. And then, cleaning most of the paint out of my brush. Oh, you know what? I forgot one of the colors. If I was feeling simple here today, I could have just used some cad yellow or yellow ochre, but Bob mentioned the Indian yellow, and I think that's the only place we use it. So, a little bit of that Indian yellow. You could probably guess this is where the transparency or the eye will be. So let's put a little bit of that in there. There we go. And then at the very bottom, a little bit of dark sienna. Well, in my case, a little bit of Van Dyke brown too. There's your happy accident. A little bit of a beach happening right down here at the bottom. I think this dark sienna is about the only non-transparent color. I put a little too much on. It's very opaque. We'll just have a little beach right down there, and we'll see what happens. So, do have to give my brush a little bit more of a clean here. You know me, I'm not always prepped here. This is the first of a few paintings for me today. I gotta paint. I'm sorry, let me rephrase that. I get to paint most of the day today. This is what I do. And once in a while here, I do have several paintings that I've done recently that are going to become classes. Thanks to you folks watching my YouTube channel. It keeps me motivated, keeps me painting, even in my off days. And some of those paintings that I have done for my weekly video, I'm turning into classes. So we'll see how well they do. I went over all my classes at this venue for the past year, and I can't do them again. I want to do different paintings this year. Now, they might have some similar elements to them, but they're going to be all new paintings. I forgot to bring my beater bucket over, so I just whipped it into my trash can and cleaned the rest here just on the paper towel. While I'm at it, let us get some liquid white. I'm not always good at keeping the jar clean. Now, I've shook this up a little bit before I started the video. I shake it up really, really well. And we're only going to use a fairly small bit here. That might be too much. We'll see. So, liquid white, and we're going to put it right on over everything. Very thin coat here. I'm just going to keep spreading it. It's very white right now across that black, isn't it? There's too much white there, that's all. We're going to move some of it over, fill in the rest here. Bring that down. Look how it just turns nice and gray. Pretty slick. Pretty cool. You know, I think I've done this painting a couple of times, but I never did the gesso behind it for a class. So we'll give this a try. It's been a while since I've done this one. I've been going through boxes and boxes of old paintings here, making some room. And I believe I came across it, kind of prompted me to update it since I haven't done this one in a while. And without the gesso there, I love how it turns nice and gray like that. Now, I think we'll only see a fraction of what's up there. A lot of this gets covered up pretty thoroughly. There we go. Now, Bob did put a piece of tape there, and I'm just going to try going at it without. So, just going to double check myself just to see how that performs. That's what we're looking for, just a thin fingerprint there. And here we go. I'm going to take a little bit of that yellow ochre, and you can always flatten it with a knife first. A little bit of the yellow ochre, work that into the brush. Just a touch of the cad yellow. Work those two colors together. And maybe a little more cad yellow. I don't know. Ooh, there it is. How much of this you want yellow? It's kind of up to you. Working that back and forth, let it pick up that liquid white, and let it just keep getting softer and softer. Maybe a touch more of the yellow ochre down here. See, just for the little different flavors. Touch more right here. Something like that. You can get some up in here if you want. Over here. I'm going to come right back. I better do a fall painting later because I put out a lot of extra paint, so I'm going to use some of this and make some other paintings today and make them fall. Putting a little bit of this bright red here and there only takes a little. I'm wiping most of the paint off. I still have some of those colors in there, but now I go over it with these blending strokes. And let's blur it out. Stretch it. Fill in some of these dark areas. This little bit of paint in your brush, more than enough for the task at hand. Look at that. Softening, creating all sorts of nice things happening up here. This as well. Blurring, blending, pulling. These little remnants in your brush. Right on over. You can even make adjustments. You can fill up more here. All sorts of things happening. Maybe a little bit of Indian yellow just for another flavor. If it's too bold, just keep going over it. Look at that. Pushing my brush. Little bit of paint in my brush still there. A lot of this is getting covered up, so as long as you're relatively satisfied with it, that's probably good enough. Okay, let's mix up some lavender here. A little bit of red, crimson I should say, crimson and blue. Tell you what, maybe a touch of white in it so we can see what's going on. See how strong that blue is? Very dark purple, very to the blue side. So let's add a little more crimson in there. Picking it up, laying it out, getting that knife clean. I know it looks like I'm just going over the same thing, but I'm changing the angle a little bit. It scrapes it on, spreads it off. And I think we go over to that fan brush there. It doesn't all have to be one straight color. We're going to pick up some of that, back and forth, pulling and smoothing. And I love these type of stringy clouds, these little sweeping strokes. Just filling some of these in here. Filling in the spaces. Sometimes they might kind of turn a little lazy and just kind of hang out there. Lighter, darker. Oh my goodness, we're filling it up. Lots and lots of clouds. Now, if you want to, you can change up that color. I'm adding a little more crimson to that purple, just to change things up and throw some different effects up in there. Wherever you like. Okay. Now, with my mostly cleaned out 1-inch brush, let's go over it. Just back and forth, following the same basic angles. Moving, softening, stretching, all sorts of good stuff there. Take a little bit of that redder color here, a little reddish purple here, and let's throw in some little cloud forms here. Hanging out down near the horizon. A couple little ones happening in here, if you like. It's all good. Now, using my 1-inch brush, let's soften that a little bit. There we go. Any of these little stringy things you put out here, they blend right away. Just turn all mellow and lazy. Now, let's clean off that fan brush here. I'm going to add a touch of the white. Very, very small amount of bright red, mostly titanium white. If you can give it just the barest pink. There we go. And let's throw some highlights on these clouds. Wherever you think, just trying to get some color off here. Then when we come back with our 1-inch brush, just little tiny stirs. I'm only using a few bristles here, barely touching, to soften and blend the white into the shadows, the bright into the dark. Get a little something going there. And very lightly, 2 hairs and some air, graze over it. Oh my goodness. Just a little more right there, wherever you think there's going to be a bright highlight. Oh, that cloud came almost down to the horizon. Almost there. I tell you what, this little part that I have right here, kind of breaking the horizon, if we were to just take a little bit of that cloud color and let's just hide that a little bit. Oh, there it is. Then a little bit of the highlight color. And then a little blurring. Ooh, I like that. Hides that horizon for me. Now, I think Bob actually took a touch of the titanium white, and he didn't use his finger, but I am. I'm just going to rub in a little bit of the bright spot here. A little last remnant of the sun. Nice bright sun. Now, of course, you could, use the 1-inch brush and just soften it a little bit, but most of it you can just do with the finger. Now, since we have that, now it makes sense that the light is striking the top of those clouds and giving it a little brighter feel. Nice little effect there. If you were feeling it, you could add a little bit of the white to the highlights and highlight these mountains here, wherever you think, mountains, clouds, wherever you think the light might be striking the bottom edge of the upper clouds here. Play around with that as much as you like. Maybe we got something happening here, a bigger one. I'm kind of going off script here, off of what Bob did, but that's the whole point of painting, is to change things, make them your own. You don't have to copy Bob exactly. I'm trying to give it a couple of my own little touches here, for better or for worse. I take a step back and I start to see things here myself, things that I don't necessarily approve of, or things I want to change. I guess those go hand in hand. There we go. Extra little bright things happening here. There we go. You know, I just looked at the picture, and Bob did a whole bunch of these highlights to these upper clouds, but he put in big billowy things, where I'm keeping them low and flat and lazy. Well, let's do a few more of these. It is just the week before Thanksgiving here I don't know what I'm saying. I'm getting a little loopy already. It's only like 9 in the morning. This bodes well for the day. Coming up on Thanksgiving next week, 2024. And I'm already prepping for these new classes for 2025. And lots more videos to come next year as well. As long as you're watching, I'll keep making them, you know. And even if you're not watching, which by the subscriber and viewer numbers, you aren't, I will keep making them. I make them more for myself than anything, because I really like yammering out loud to myself, so that's what you get. Let's go ahead and start our crazy, crazy wave. We're going to have a nice, big, crashing wave coming up, 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 and then over. There we go. And that wave's going to have something kind of coming up and going over like that. Maybe we'll have just a little bit of the background wave. 1, maybe 2. We can get it in there. There we go. Most of the paint's out of my brush. Now I can bring some of that wave backwards. Want to leave just a little bit of that dark back there. So just scratching with the middle of my fan brush. I'm moving that color backwards, or in this case, upwards. That's the technique here. These very shallow strokes, creating the trough back there. Getting it laid out just a little bit. We're going to accentuate that and do all sorts of fun stuff there. Now in my scene, I made my wave a lot bigger, so I need a little more of that Indian yellow there. Let me just rub a little of this background color up there. That was a lot. Getting some of that off. Okay. Boy, I really want to finger paint today, I guess. So just using a little bit of that titanium white and a little bit of the Indian yellow that's there. Let's see about stirring in a little bright spot. Or transparency. As it goes down the wave, it's a little less and less. And now with my 1-inch brush, let's see about silkifying it. Let's see how soft we can get this color. Got a lot on there. It's a little on the heavy side, that's alright. Couple little stirs here. Picks up that color, it moves it right on out. And let's have a little indication where that wave is curving. See that? Gets darker and darker. When I come back to this, you might want to strengthen this up a little, make it a little brighter. You can push up, create a little splash up at the top there. There you go. So, using a little bit of that white that's already on my brush and some of my purple color I created, I mix those two into a lavender. And let's give it a little shadow bit. Right around that transparency. There we go. And with that titanium white, plenty of color here. We got to give our little cascade. Pulling that over. Giving ourselves a nice angle of attack there. There it is. I suppose that purple could have been just a little bit lower. Should have done that cascade first, but oh well, just pushing a little some of that darker color there. And we got to come back and add some shadows up here, some of that splash. Oh, it's a crazy one. Bringing it right on over. Now with a clean, dry fan brush, pick up just a touch of that white, and let's put in our highlights to our splash. Push. Getting some color off there. Putting some highlights on it. leaving a little shadow. We need that shadow. There we go. Come up here, put a little more bright, splashy splash. Right on up over there. Get some just on top of that shadow bit, leaving some of the shadow. If you happen to cover a little of it up, don't worry right now. We'll do some cleanup on there. Now, when I wiped most of the paint off my brush, we use the clean dry brush for blending, just in a spot or two. A couple of these bristles here, just working a little bit of that highlight into the purple. Give some little transitions here, little interest happening here, where we see some of that mixture of highlight and shadow. Okay. This little bit here, just going to clean that up a little. I have enough paint on there I can move it and soften and blend some of that excess away. Sometimes you don't. You'll start seeing the black canvas very, very quickly here. So you gotta be careful. Maybe just a little brighter right up there. Once again, finger painting. Just gonna work some of that white up into that top part of my transparency. There we go, just a little brighter. Mine's definitely lighter than Bob's here. He didn't have much going on down here at all. This dark stuff. But that's all right. Variation and color changes is all part of the gig, part of the thing here. So I'm just going to put in some little splash things here and there, get something going. Maybe even a little bigger bead of color right here. A little more water action. And then using this 1-inch brush, watch this, I'm going to take that right under the bright spot here, grab some of that highlight, and just turn it into wet sand. Look at that, just turning it into some sand here. Push a little harder. You can blur it even more. You can stretch that color down. Just a touch more right here. Touch more right there. Then very gentle, blur it sideways. Ooh, look at that wet sand. Now I'm going to put that bead of color in again, but this time with the knife. I really like that textured effect there. And then you put that big color up in there and you clean your brush. You can already see this very flat look to it. Well, this little smear bit, I just blend out sideways. Gives a nice flat look to the water. Leave some of those dark areas, that's okay. There we go. I think I might need one more just to hide this, or you can blend and blur it away a little. Let's see here. Maybe just a touch of this. We want to see a little bit of this surf coming off the wave. Helps define the angle a little bit. As long as it's relatively flat at the bottom, It makes sense. Splashes up in there. We'll do some other details up in there. But one more. Let's just say one more. There we go. The flatter you pull, the flatter the water looks. And our water is coming up to that beach, and it's just laying on there, nice and horizontal. Still see a little bit of that wet sand reflection. Just going to soften this just a little bit. Couple of bristles work better than my finger here, so let's just clean that up. Bring that bright stuff out a little bit. There we go. Okay. I'm actually taking a little bit of the undercolor here. This is the green and brown. It's very to the green side here, but you can always change it if you need it. Or you can add purple. You do this in purple. It doesn't matter. Let's make our little indication here of our little water features here. All these little rivulets that you see in waves. Here and there. And maybe a little white one there just to add some detail there. Now down here, I like to put in all sorts of little water things. Adding in all these little indications of the old waves, just sort of coming back to the water, back to the ocean, leaving behind these little bits of foam and all sorts of other stuff. Back here in between these waves, we can start adding some little details. Way back in the distance here. Don't really see too much. Fitting that titanium white way down, or you could use a little bit of liquid white too. And if that doesn't fall off the brush, again, a tiny amount of paint thinner is all you need, so you can get this paint to flow right out of the brush. See that little bright lines here and there. Very light touch. Miss several times here as you're sweeping back and forth, adding in some stuff. There we go. Nice little scene. And you could add all sorts of rocks and stones and all sorts of trees and palm trees or whatever you want to do a basic scene there. But I'm keeping it nice and easy. That's all we get. Thanks, guys. I'll see you next time. Take care.